Welcome to Pictures on the Scorecard. My name is Seth McWhorter. I am a graphic designer and branding professional in the golf industry. I'm joined by Robbie Woodard. If you are listening to this when we hope you're listening to it, when we release it, then there will be probably one thing on your mind if you're a golfer or in the golf industry, and that is the Masters. As we are recording this, we are about 2 weeks away from the tournament. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of content around the Masters, and we're going to pile onto that. But hopefully, sort of staying true to the concept of this show, we're gonna take a slightly different look at it. We're going to talk about the history, the logos, the merchandise, all the stuff that sort of surrounds the experience of going to the Masters. And on that note, Robbie, tell us about what you're excited about for this year's Masters, and maybe a little bit about your thoughts on it overall.
Sure. No, and you mentioned we're recording it a couple weeks out, and the episode will actually come out, I guess, Monday of the Masters week. So if you won't be able to listen to it while you're inside the gates, but maybe on your drive to or from. So the Masters it's my favorite tournament. It's many people's favorite tournaments. It's kind of like the start of the golf season for a lot of people. I've gotten to go a number of times. I think one of my favorite experiences, though, my friend Donald Taylor, known him forever, he said, hey, here's what you do, because I got the Wednesday 4-pack through the lottery. Yes, I have won the lottery. I've actually won it twice.
Nice.
But I'll never win it again. But anyway, I took my wife and kids. This was, gosh, I can't remember what year, 2016, I think. So Jordan Spieth had just won the year before. My buddy Donald says, hey, here's what you do, Wednesday practice round. Go buy 2 chairs and 2 flags. And take the chairs, as soon as you get there, go down to the ninth green of the par 3, set the chairs there, because that's where the players sign. So then we walked around, looked at everything, watched players practicing, go back for the par 3. The kids go down there and sit, and they get every signature possible, right? It was nice. Amazing. Jordan Spieth signed in the middle of the flag because he was the reigning champ. And then on the way out, run into this older gentleman, and we were going to take a photo in front of the giant Masters board, and he said, hey, can I take that for you? And sure. He sees the kids' flags. He says, oh, you got a lot of signatures. Did you get Willett on there? I'm like, no, Danny Willett. And he goes, you must know him. And he goes, well, I was his college coach. And so we got to meet him, and of course, a couple of days later, he wins the Masters. So pretty neat experience. But got to take the kids there, which was a lot of fun. They've talked about it, wanting to go back, but again, a hard ticket to get. So
yeah,
you being in Georgia, I imagine you've been a couple of times.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of going several times. I think, when I think about my experience, the first time I went, it was 2003. I was 15, and we got Sunday passes, and so I grew up in Athens, couple hours up the road, and it was always one of those things. My dad always went. He got to go, almost every year, and I never got the call, and I got really into golf. And anyway, he decided to take me, Sunday in 2003. Obviously, we know what happens with that one. That's the filled jump when he got about 6 inches off the ground. But I have this is so nerdy. I have terrible allergies, and I remember getting there crack of dawn. Nobody's on the course yet, but we're walking around, and I'm just stifling sneezes, and my my nose is like running, and my dad's just kind of like, is he gonna last the whole day? And anyway, we get to lunch. And he looks at me, he's like, are you just miserable? And I'm like, yeah, this is bad. And so he was like, let's book it home. And so I don't know if the leaders had teed off, but we were in Athens and in front of the TV by Phil making the turn. So my first experience was a little bit of a letdown, but it was incredible. The experience of going to the Masters is unlike any other thing in professional sports. It's certainly the most unique, in my opinion, and the best.
Can you imagine if you'd have stuck around and then there was an alternate ending where it's somebody sneezed and Phil missed the putt? And that was you.
Yeah. And at the time, I wasn't a big Phil fan, so that would have been probably, I probably would have loved that. No, yeah, that's a great thought. That's I could have it's like the butterfly flapping its wings or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Robbie, do you want to kind of take us through some of the, the basics history of Augusta National and the Masters?
Sure. Their website does an incredible job of talking about it, but yeah, it's a former on the former site of Fruitland Nurseries. Obviously, many people know Alistair McKenzie designed the course. Augusta National officially opened January of 1933. Co-founders Bobby Jones and Clifford Roberts. But then 1934, the first Masters tournament, and the winner was Horton Smith. And since 1937, everybody's been donning the official Masters green jacket. It's iconic, right? Like, there's so many things that have come from that, and I think you and I talked about it a little bit. Like, they started with a lot of things that we still see today, and we're going to jump into some of the logo stuff, but maybe you can kind of talk about some of those things, and I know you've got some thoughts on it, but yeah, the logo, right? Like,
yeah,
I've got hats, I've got a pullover here, but the logo is well recognized.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue it's in the top 5, top 3 most recognizable logos specifically, but brands in the golf industry, and rightfully so. They do an incredible job of obviously putting it on anything and everything for you to buy, but also protecting it, and we can talk a little bit about that. But they certainly are stewards of their brand. The logo itself, the one that is on your pullover and my cup, it appeared on that first invitation for the first tournament, in a slightly different form, but by and large, it hadn't changed a whole lot. It's the shape of the continental United States with the flag sort of vaguely near Augusta, Georgia. And it's so funny because as I was sort of, I didn't feel like I had to do a bunch of research for this, but I did kind of Google, like, what are some thoughts on the Masters logo specifically. And the funniest thing sort of popped up, and it was prevalent from like random Reddit, posts, all the way up to like golf.com had an article where there's a lot of talk about the representation of the shape of the continental United States in the logo. And as a designer, it sort of raised my hackles a little bit, and I was kind of taken aback by like just people sort of looking at this thing like it's a map. And it's just like, it blew my mind because it's just not the way that I look at logos at all. It's meant to be representational. It's not literal. The fact that the how high Maine goes in comparison to the rest. I mean, like, that is the most just kind of asinine thing, in this discussion. But a lot of people are hung up on it, and that's fine. Maybe it's a lesson for me more than anything.
And they're like, the cup's not right on Augusta if you think about it, and maybe.
Well, it speaks to like, I think golfers and a lot of people sort of crave the literal, whereas like I'm trying to, in a lot of ways, pushing people towards abstracting things and kind of making things a little bit more interesting through abstraction. And I would argue, I don't think anybody could look at that and not say it's the continental United States. So it's like it checks that box. Like, who cares that Texas is not in relation to Florida? Like that's just like totally a sideline for me.
Yeah, they've been doing it since 1934. I think they've figured it out by now.
Yeah. Let's and people that are listening to this probably don't care either, but some people on the internet do. It's funny. I think from a branding standpoint, and we talked about this, we kind of hinted at this, like nobody does it better than Augusta from a merchandising standpoint. Nobody owns what they have created and protects it in a more vigilant way. And I think the reverence we have for the tournament, the club, the brand itself is because of that, and everything they do is extremely considered. It's funny. Another sort of anecdote of like researching this, I found myself on the general golf Reddit thread, where
that's dangerous.
It is, yeah, and it's probably not something I need to spend time doing, but But yeah, some poor designer, took a stab at quote unquote fixing the Masters word mark, which is sort of pseudo script, all caps. I could probably tell you the font that it was inspired by, but nobody cares about that. But the guy, made some tweaks to it and just got absolutely roasted with hundreds of comments on Reddit, which is just case in point of like, it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I saw you put a link in our little notes as we prepared for this, and I went and looked at it and read through some of those comments. But I looked back at what he was trying to say as these would make it better, and I don't know if I agreed with any of them. Again, I think your comment, right? It's not broke, all right? So
right.
What are you trying to do?
Yeah, totally. It's not just the logos themselves, the way that they sort of implement it on merchandise and the website and all that stuff. Augusta owns colors. The Masters owns colors unlike any other brand, I've seen. And personally, obviously, I design things for clients all day, and it's golf. When you think about golf and colors, you think about green. And if you add yellow to that, every conversation you have with a client is totally, it's kind of Masters. It references the Masters, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I get that, but we have to be able to use green and yellow at some point. But it's just kind of a testament to how they have built this brand that like they own the colors in addition to a lot of other things.
Yeah, you hear Masters green all the time. Obviously, it references the jacket, but everything else is done in that exact shade of green. That you mentioned though earlier that they do what they can to trademark and copyright and protect their brand, but you see so many companies out there. And we kind of touched on this, I guess, in our first show. It's the season for companies to take their own personal logo, throw those colors on it, and try to kind of get borderline close to copying what's out there. And I've looked at the Augusta site. And I've seen, oh man, they've got this and this and this trademark. The word Augusta is I think under their trademark stuff. So and maybe there's no answer to this, and we won't talk about it today. But how are these folks getting away with it, where every one of them is not receiving a cease and desist letter?
Well, I think a lot of them are, but I don't know that for sure. But yeah, it's this like interesting dance that happens in the golf world when it comes to brands sort of borrowing interest from the Masters, and I think like it's you kind of they have to, like, it's the biggest event of the year in my opinion in the golf world, and for a brand to not celebrate it is the way that it should be. It should be, sort of revered and celebrated, but it's hard not to bring it up. And I think that there are sort of, how close to the line do you want to get? And I get kind of roped into that dance too, by clients and like from the smallest, startup brands to the biggest ones, your major OEMs, TaylorMade and Titleist and all that. They're going to have some sort of Masters themed thing, whether it be social posts or actual product. And
the golf bags each person will carry, they do it for all the different events, but
right.
They'll be green and gold or azaleas or something built into the different brands golf bags that the players will carry, or their caddies will.
Well, and it's like, nobody knows where this line is, but like at some point somebody at the Masters says, that's too far. We need to stop that. It's diluting their brand, and I don't blame them for doing what they do, because this is why we revere this tournament, is because they protected the mystique and the aura around it, and a lot of that starts, in my opinion, with the branding and how it's represented. And so they are notoriously aggressive and protective of their brand, and I don't find fault with that. But yeah, it is funny because in my opinion, a lot of brands reach for the low-hanging fruit in terms of referencing it, and I've probably been called in to do that type of work too. But I think the ones that are more interesting are the ones that are like digging deeper in the sort of lore and history and experience of the Masters, and trying to find something that nobody's that is sort of a universal experience or a universal reference, but is not a pimento cheese or or an azalea. Which again, I've probably designed a pimento cheese and azalea for something in the past.
But
But
I mean,
no,
there's no. But ultimately, though, we do it because, or companies do it because they love it, right?
Right.
They admire, and it goes back to the 1934, right? The tradition, unlike any other, like all the things that they have done, like at the same course, get a green jacket every year, like so many things that have been done for a ton of years now. People just respect it, and I think
Right.
as long as they're doing that and not crossing the line of like trademark infringement and stuff like that,
Right.
then it's something to be celebrated. That's why everybody's excited about it, because we're
Yeah.
almost at Masters Week.
Well, and the line for like a lawyer is probably pretty obvious. It's like when someone's making a bunch of money on it.
Yeah.
That's when it's like, all right, well, like you can't do that. When if Titleist or somebody was going to post about the Masters, that's great. Like, of course.
Yeah.
But if they sell a hat,
I wouldn't want to do anything that would ever get me on a list that they said Robbie
right.
will never ever be allowed in here again.
that's right. Yeah, that is. I remember when I was 15, I didn't. Well, I'm sure I had like a brick cell phone, but like for like 2 hours on the way down to Augusta, it was like, Dad, I'm not taking. I don't like. Nobody's gonna call me, but I'm not taking my phone anywhere near the course. But he was like, all right, well, let me tell you what happened last year to the guy. They might have taken him out back and taken him out. So like even when I get like to Augusta not to go to the Masters, I'm like terrified of my cell phone ringing. But yeah, we sort of we've hinted, or we've talked about the main logos, but there's a lot of other stuff out there that that Augusta and the Masters uses for merchandise and other things, and we kind of had a quick list, and I think it's something that gets replicated in a lot of different ways. But you obviously have sort of the main brand, that the classic yellow continental United States with the green outline, but you also have variations of it that some of them are tied to the experience and where you kind of get access and where you can shop, or who I guess. So you've got the sort of members logos. You've got the logos for the Berkman's Place, which is the incredible sponsor sort of hospitality area. And then you've got a few other sort of ancillary marks and assets that I've seen pop up over the past several years. This is kind of a tidbit. I don't know, Robbie. Maybe I pointed this out to you when we were looking at that initial, the very first invitation to the tournament.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I've probably seen hundreds of times, and maybe just didn't even associate it with it being a logo. But you pointed out the 1934 triangle.
Yeah, and it's one of those. It's a great example of something where, somebody points to this historic asset, and they're like, "How can we bring that back to life?" And it's one of those things where, like, no, just recreate it exactly the way it was. It's perfect. And so that 1934 triangle, obviously representing the first year that the tournament was played, is something that I think I have a hat that has, like, on the clasp on the back, has the 34 triangle. I've seen it on merchandise. Maybe on tags and stuff. Never seen it like on the front of a shirt, but yeah, it sort of brings us into the topic of merchandise, and it's something that there's a lot of fun anecdotes and experiences buying merchandise at the Masters, but it is a world of its own, and I think it's super interesting.
Yeah, you talk about the merchandise experience. You watch people go in there and just spend way more money than they ever should on stuff. They have lists that every friend that they told was going to the Masters, they have to buy hats for. They're buying tons and tons of polo shirts at $100 a pop or whatever it cost. Every little trinket and new thing that has, we talked about the gnome, right? Is a popular item now. So it's not out of control. It's a well organized and well orchestrated system of, here are the things that we think people will buy, and if it has a logo on it, people are going to buy it.
Right. Yeah, totally. It's funny. It's certainly, it's proof that if you create it, people are going to buy it. At least when it comes to golf merchandise. And I've seen that happen, and I've felt that urge to go into a pro shop and just clean it out. But you really see it turned up to 11 at the Masters, and I don't know. I probably. It's probably not good to speculate on what they make on merchandise. I saw the latest estimates from last year was like 70 million in merchandise sales for the week, and I mean, I think Golf Digest or Golf Mag, whatever, they broke it down to like hourly earnings, and it's like $1 million an hour that the merchandise stands are open. And yeah, I mean, you can go in there and drop hundreds of dollars without getting past the first kiosk of things or whatever.
Yeah. I think what's cool, Jonathan was telling me he went to Berkman's last year, Jonathan Hill, and he was explaining the process. They loaded up a bag, and then when they get to the register, they drop the whole thing through like the checkout lane, and the RFID tags on all the products automatically scans. So you drop it through it immediately. It gives you a list of everything you just threw in your bag, and you go from there. So they've it's neat to see the tradition, but also the technology that comes into play to improve the customer experience. Because yes, it's fun to go buy all the stuff, but then you don't want to turn around and stand in a checkout line for a long time because you want to get out to the course.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. Like in my experience of attending the tournament, it's you got to plan, like, and it depends on who you're going with. If they've never been, or if they they're big spenders, they want to buy a bunch of stuff. You plan your day around, like, all right, when are we hitting up the merchandise tent? And I think that's fun. One thing I find interesting every year, and obviously they don't really publicize what products they're selling. There's no online store. It's all sort of that secondary market, but you think of Augusta National and the Masters as this very protective and conservative in their implementation of their branding and stuff like that. But they really have a lot of fun with the merchandise. You mentioned the gnome. That's sort of taken a life of its own. And I saw one of the social posts of them sort of unveiling this year's gnome, which is cool. I don't collect them, but and I'm not a big collector, but like, that's pretty cool. I think
somebody does. Somebody's getting those.
Yeah. And I saw, like, I saw in one of the rabbit holes I went down of, like, somebody parting ways with, I don't know, their collection of like 14 of these for like 10 grand or something like that, which is really not surprising, but that's the way it is. And I think what's cool about that is the tournament and their merchandising people are willing to sort of take a risk and have some fun with the brand in a very curated way. And obviously it's been proven time and time again that whatever they put the logo on, people will buy it. I mean, they could put a toilet seat cover in the pro shop and it would go like that.
They might have one in there. Who knows?
Yeah, they may have it.
Well, one of the coolest mementos or merchandise things that you can get, it will cost you what, a $3 or $4 cup of beer. Yeah. It's the cups, right? Everybody wants the cups.
Yeah. I mean, I when I was getting a cup this afternoon, I think the oldest one I have in my cupboard is from 2017, and it's sort of it's super cheesy, but it's kind of a badge of honor when you go to someone's house and you see their oldest Masters cup. Yeah. Which is funny because they give them out. It's a souvenir when you buy a drink. But it's good people watching to kind of pinpoint the person that is just not bashful about collecting the cups towards the end of the day.
Yeah, especially the ones that's like, all right, how many like of the clear versus how many of the green?
yeah, which is, I guess the difference is like domestic versus import beers. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean the cup thing. Like, I listen. I do it. I'll grab a few of them, but like I don't want to be seen as that guy that's like walking with towers of cups. It reminds me of being in college at Georgia games. The souvenir Coca-Cola cups. We used to have to go collect them and you know, bring them back to the student section. But yeah, it's just a neat thing though, and I think it all comes back to just how special that experience is. That you want to collect cups. Like, these people don't need cups. Cups are readily available anywhere. But it's a badge of honor, and it's proof that you were there. And I think that a lot of the merchandise is exactly that.
Absolutely. If you're in the middle of the summer and you pull out your Masters cup and you're sitting there, like, it tastes a little sweeter because you're drinking out of the cup, but also you're kind of rubbing it in a little bit that you were there. But they do now have, you mentioned they don't sell merchandise online. They do now have the concession pack where you can get pimento cheese, the barbecue, and cups, right? For get those shipped to your home in time to watch the Masters at home.
I saw that. I guess they've been doing that for the past couple of years. I haven't tried. Have you tried it yet?
Yeah, I had a friend that we had a little watch party, and he got some stuff, and so I got a Masters cup from it was the 2020 the 2020 Masters, right? So nobody was there in person except for the very limited few in November, but got a Masters cup.
That one will probably be worth a couple $1,000s in a few years. But I mean, I think that's neat, and again, it's everything that you get from there is just it's a badge of honor in a kind of nerdy way, but that's kind of how the merchandise functions in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I mean, I think is there anything else you kind of want to talk about around the Masters, and you know, we can head into our routine par segment, which will kind of round out the show. But I'll say, you know, I'm just excited about the tournament. I can't wait. It's always, you know, circled on the calendar every year.
Yeah, it'll be good. The first one of the year where players from both PGA and LIV are back together, so we'll get to see the best of the best. You know, obviously Scotty, not the reigning champ, but he's won it before, and he's on fire. So Scotty Scheffler might be the odds-on, or is the odds-on favorite to do it again. So, but it'll be interesting to see all the best players in the world back together at the greatest tournament. Yeah.
Well, are you going to go this year? Do you know? Or are you waiting on a call?
I don't believe I'm going to go. You've got a couple things going on. We are doing a live show with Best Ball on Wednesday before at the Topgolf down there. So, doing that with Joel from Atomic Golf. So, yeah, that'll be fun. We'll at least be close.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it'll rub off on you, just by
proximity.
You you know, it's one of those things where if I'm lucky enough to get an invite, it'll come at the last minute, and it's generally one of those things. And unless something's on fire, you're going to drop everything and go.
Yeah, that's the beauty of, you know, I'm in Columbia, you're in Rome, a couple hours away, each of us. I'm like an hour down the road, but you can get those last minute calls and be like, I'm there.
Yeah, you never hesitate with that.
And I think Jonathan said it best last year when he got invited and he got to go to Berkman's. He told the person inviting him, "Well, I gotta call the office," and they said, "Well, I need an answer now." And he's like, "Well, I'm not calling to ask permission. I'm calling to say I'm not going to be at work."
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully, to all my friends that may or may not be listening, I'm available that week. So yeah, it's going to be a great one, and it's always a fun way to kick off the golf season.
Yes, it is.
So cool. Well, let's go into our routine par segment, and kind of talk about some things that have caught our eye and we found interesting over the past week or so. I'll shake things up. Robbie, I'll let you go first.
Yeah. So one of the things that I saw this week, you know, I know we'll be posting this Masters week, but I saw the TGL Golf League posted a video just kind of explaining their game. There was a little video, I don't want to say cartoon, but animated video, Ricky Fowler kind of talking about it. But yeah, they seem to be on the push to get people excited about this thing. You know, it was supposed to happen, then the dome collapsed, so now they're building a better structure. It's supposed to kick off in January of 2025. So what do you think about that league? Are you excited about it? Will you watch it?
Yeah, I mean, I will watch it. It's not something that I, you know, have been actively saying, man, I wish there was this coming about. But I am always happy when you know, people are kind of pushing the professional golf product, if you will. I mean, I'm not huge fan of like the match and all that kind of stuff as it is now, but I think that if any way we can kind of get more people in the game and interested in sort of new avenues to do that, I think I'm excited just to see the concept. And yeah, I kind of blocked out the dome collapsing. That was such a random event that hopefully nobody was hurt, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm pumped to see how it all shakes out. And I mean, they got some huge names, so it'll be exciting to see how it all works.
Yeah, the whole rise of simulator golf leagues and just things like that are really coming up. And I think there's a quick side note. I don't even have it written down. I think the next golf tour, something like that. Jared Dorfler, Tyler Johnson, a buddy of theirs that played college golf with them at Northern Iowa, just won I think it was some simulator golf league championship. And with that, he gets an exemption to a DP World Tour event. So,
Wow.
Congrats to him. I'll look up your name. I've seen it. I just can't remember it now. It just came top of my
Yeah.
head. But just talking about the simulator stuff. So that's a pretty
That's
cool
interesting.
opportunity. And they said he was reading what Jared and them have said. I mean, he's a great guy. Been working at it for a long time, and it couldn't happen to a better guy. So yeah. Whatever
That's awesome.
DP World Tour event he's getting to go to, check it out and cheer him on.
I love that. That's awesome. So this past, I guess probably within the past 24 hours from when we were recording this, Pinehurst just released the new Pinehurst number 10 logo, and really it seems to be kind of the logo for the whole development of what they're calling the sand mines, and. I did not design it. I've had the privilege of working with Pinehurst in the past, and hats off to the team that worked on it. I think it's awesome. We can post it on social to or at least point you guys to it. But I think that it's really great in that it's got this awesome story. So it's a train car with sort of a mound of sand, and there's a lot of backstory behind. Why it is what it is, and there's some sort of Easter eggs that I think are awesome, and I think it's really cool. So yeah, check out number 10, and there's some excitement. I mean, there's always something happening at Pinehurst that is exciting, and they really have been doing a lot up there in the past couple of years.
Yeah, no, you talk about somebody that gets logos right, just as a company. Pinehurst does an incredible job, and yes, you've gotten to do some stuff for them, but from the individual courses have their own unique logos to what you've helped do for the Cradle and the seasonal things for them, and how they put it on golf tees and do a ton of other stuff. They do logos right. So yes, it was really cool to see the new Sand Mines logo for course number 10. I am sorry I texted you right away and was like, did you do this?
It's just kind of salt in the wound, but no, it's all.
Oh, no, yeah.
Anytime somebody's doing something creative and fun and exciting in the golf industry is a win for everybody.
Yep.
Yeah,
well,
that's awesome.
Apparently, there's another track of land right there in the sand mines that they might do another one. So maybe number 11.
I'll take it if it comes.
Yep. All right. Well, speaking of the number 10, again, we were recording this, what's today, March 27th. The Wisconsin State Golf Association, I saw this. The guys from No Laying Up or DJ Pie and another guy, the Wisconsin Golf Association, challenged them. Could they play all 10 of their top 100 courses that are in Wisconsin within like a 40-hour period? And you think about it, you're like, holy cow, that's a lot of golf holes, but they're spread out too. I know a couple of them, there's at least maybe a couple hour drive. So Jason Janke, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, I'm sure I am, helped shoot this thing and do the video and editing and stuff. But yeah, it was released today, I think tonight, on YouTube. I think they were doing a big premiere at a theater somewhere. But yeah, excited to see that. So
yeah,
very cool opportunity to go show off some of their. I love videos like that or things like that where a course or in this case, a state golf association or a resort will do something creative with playing golf. It might not be the traditional, oh, let's go play 18 holes of this one, but it's something different to help tell a story, make it a little more fun, and hopefully draw more people into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I now I know what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of the night. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, that's awesome. I think that'll be some incredible content. So looking forward to seeing that. I'll kind of round it out with another sort of Masters tidbit. I don't know how interesting this is, but I kind of get a little tired come like tournament start of like you're just kind of bombarded with all the cliches of azaleas and pimento cheeses, and it's really not like it's really the people that are kind of like fair weather golf fans. They're sort of talking about the same things over and over again. But in my Googling and rabbit holes of kind of getting ready to talk about the Masters, I did learn something about the pimento cheese, and it was originally made by a humble Augusta couple, and they may have been restaurateurs. I don't really know, but Hodges and Ola Herndon were the first people to actually make pimento cheese sandwiches in 1947, 48, and sell them at the course. And I saw in like the Augusta Chronicle where like the son of this couple, who's he's probably in his 70s or 80s now, has a letter from Bob Jones and Clifford Roberts saying, thank you for selling your sandwiches at such a low price. I think it was, 25 cents or something like that. But it was kind of cool. There's the son, who's still living, I believe, would actually take the sandwiches from his mom and dad's kitchen and recruit his fraternity brothers to sell them on site at little wooden huts. So that's sort of a little interesting tidbit of about the pimento cheese.
And they haven't changed much. That.
No, they haven't. And I mean, what's your go-to Masters sandwich or food item?
I think my favorite thing there is that peach ice cream sandwich.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
It's hard to beat that.
Yeah, I'm partial to the barbecue sandwiches. I don't know why.
I love the barbecue sandwich as well.
Yeah, I think it's underrated.
Yep.
Well, thank you all for making it this far and listening to yet another Masters themed content that I'm sure you're deep in over the next couple weeks. But it's always a pleasure to chat with you, Robbie, about this type of stuff, and I hope there's some interesting thoughts in there for people to learn a little bit about the Masters and maybe look at things slightly differently.
Yeah, and if you have any of those last minute badges out there, give Seth the call.
Always available.
Always available. Y'all enjoy the Masters. We'll talk later.